Teacher spends 45 years at same school. Identity emerges after death. Never judge a book by its cover. This adage is a reminder we should all keep in mind, for we invariably find ourselves evaluating individuals based on our preconceived notions of them rather than recognizing their true essence. Genevieve Villacava was a teacher of children with special needs for almost 45 years. She was a kind woman but very reserved. No one knew details about her private life, not even the people closest to her. Villacava was always a real mystery, but that never stopped her from developing her work successfully and becoming a beloved person in her community and workplace. The teacher was one of the most beloved at the Center of Children of Special Needs, where she joined at the age of 26. Everyone who came to know her throughout her life agreed on the same thing: Genevieve was a true philanthropist who was dedicated to her work. But who was Genevieve Villacava really? Was there some hidden reason behind her absolute dedication to teaching and caring for the most vulnerable? No one knew, and they would never have known had it not been for the unexpected events that took place during the year 2011, the year in which Villacava would tragically die and surprise everyone by revealing her deepest secret. Before reaching that juncture, we'll provide you with a bit more context to help you better acquaint yourself with the protagonist of this mysterious story. Genevieve Villacava was born in New York to a wealthy family in the 1940s. Her father was an aristocrat accustomed to handling large amounts of money and closing big deals all over the country. Although her life was full of comforts and whims, the teacher was never happy with that lifestyle and hated the way her father flaunted the money he had. She was an only child, and despite being surrounded by maids who took care of her and entertained her free time, Genevieve always felt very lonely in her New York home and her rich girl life. A situation that became much worse as the girl grew older and developed her own ideas and desires to lead a different life from the one her mother had shown her. Villacava loved teaching and helping others. She wanted to be a teacher. It was what made her happy, and she was determined to achieve it. However, she knew perfectly well that what she wanted went against everything her family had taught her and her old-fashioned ideals. So when she turned 19, she made what would be the most important decision of her life. A decision that broke her heart, but that allowed her to start living the way she wanted to live. Leaving home and studying to become a teacher. What would happen after she made that decision she didn't know, but she didn't care. She trusted in fate and knew that following her instinct was the only possible decision. I don't want to depend on a man and be only what he expects me to be. We're intelligent and strong women, Mother. We deserve to lead a full life. I will not stand here and watch my life go to waste and wait for you to find me a nice husband to have lots of children with and stay at home drinking tea and pastries. I'm sorry, I expect something from life, and you should understand better than anyone else," were the last words that the young Villacava exchanged with her mother, Mrs. Satine Villacava, before leaving home in the middle of the night to start a new life far away from the macho and archaic ideals that her family had. After her escape from New York, Genevieve became someone completely different from the person she was throughout her childhood and adolescence. She graduated with honors from Columbia University and quickly began working as a teacher of children between the ages of 3 and 11. Teaching and accompanying children was her passion, and she was excellent at it. And although it wasn't the best paid job and her salary left much to be desired, that never bothered her in the least. She stayed in New York for 3 years, at which point her destiny took an unexpected turn, falling madly in love with a young teacher who worked at the same school at her, and with whom she would end up marrying and becoming the mother of her only son, Michael. However, the day Genevieve gave birth to her baby, she received news that would change her life forever. Her son was born with a disability that would prevent him from growing and developing normally. Michael was born with Down syndrome. We're sorry to inform you, your son was born with serious health problems that won't allow him to develop at the same pace as other children. He'll need constant care and special education, the doctor who delivered her son told her. However, despite doctors' warnings that their son's health was delicate, the teacher and her husband Ben were not resigned and did their best to raise their baby and provide everything they needed to make him happy. To her, Michael was a perfect baby. She didn't care if his face was different from others, if he didn't learn to walk and talk at the same time as others, or if he spoke in a strange way. He was her son, and she loved him with all her might. However, despite her efforts to try to integrate her son into society, Genevieve quickly realized how difficult it would be to fight against the prejudices of today's society, where children with special needs were totally isolated and treated as sick people who could not mix with other children. My child deserves to be treated like a normal person. He deserves love and understanding, not looks of contempt or pity. He's a child and he needs the same as everyone else. I can't stand it, Ben. It's so unfair, and if parents of children like ours don't do anything, the situation will never change. Villacava told her husband on numerous occasions that she felt frustrated with the attitude of other parents when they saw her baby. Unfortunately, Genevieve's struggle would not last long because when he was only 3 years old, her son Michael was diagnosed with a congenital heart problem that caused strong arrhythmias that forced him to be hospitalized for several days. Despite the doctor's efforts, the disease eventually exhausted Michael's little heart, and he died a few months later. "We're very sorry for your loss, but little Michael was not strong enough to overcome the disease his heart developed. I know that nothing I say will be of any comfort to you, but if you need professional help or advice, please don't hesitate to contact the hospital. We'll be here to listen to you and accompany you in your loss." The condolences of the medical team that had treated her son since he was born had no effect on Genevieve. In fact, the teacher was never the same after the death of her beloved Michael. It could be said she never got over the grief, and that everything she did after her son's death was in response to the pain she felt and all the plans for the future that she didn't have time to fulfill with him. The loss of her son caused the marriage to break up, signing the divorce only 6 months after Michael's death. Viakova did not feel capable of loving anyone, not the way her husband needed, so she decided to put distance between them and move to Dumont, New Jersey, where she would start a new life and leave all her past behind. "I need to start over, Ben. I know you don't understand now and you think I'm a coward who abandons you, and you're probably right, but it's what I need in order to move on with my life. I do it for me, but most of all I do it for Michael, for his memory and everything he couldn't prove in life," Genevieve told her husband the day before she asked him for a divorce and planned her new life away from New York. Her new life in Dumont began at the age of 26. There, Viakova got a teaching position at one of the few centers in the country specializing in the education and care of children with special needs, the kind of center she would have liked to take Michael to. As soon as she started working there and was surrounded by children with the same needs as her little one, Genevieve began to feel better and felt like she found her place. A few months after living in Dumont, it became clear to Viakova that this was the right place to start over and leave behind all the pain she harbored inside. Her goal in life became caring for others and fighting for the welfare of children with special needs. For her, this was the way to honor the memory of her son and the way to reconcile herself again with life. And the truth is, she couldn't have done any better. Genevieve spent the rest of her life serving others, both on and off the job. Altruism made her a new person in whom pain and resentment couldn't dominate. For more than 40 years, Viakova was the ideal friend, teacher, and confidant of all those who had the good fortune to know her. However, no one got to know her completely, ever. And that was the price to pay for her new life, to live with the absolute anonymity. An anonymity that lasted until the last day of her life on April 14, 2011, when Viakova died of a serious terminal illness that she'd been suffering from in secret for years. Her death left a great void in the community. Everyone loved her dearly and mourned her loss for months, even holding a tribute in her memory during the first anniversary of her death. However, the professor had one last gift to give the world, and during the last years of her life, when she was already aware her illness had no cure and that she had less and less time left to fulfill her plans. One last legacy that would leave them all shocked and would expose all her secrets: her will. 7 years after Genevieve passed away, she surprised everyone by donating $1 million to the Special Needs Foundation and its scholarship program. The beloved teacher also donated $100,000 in full to 5 other organizations, including the Ramapo Animal Shelter and the Salvation Army. This tremendous gesture was a testament to her selflessness, love, and devotion to those with whom she chose to spend her life. Due to some bureaucratic red tape, it took 7 years to settle Genevieve's inheritance. A millionaire inheritance that her parents, with whom she hadn't spoken to for more than half her life, left her in its entirety when they died 20 years before. Viakova felt very guilty about receiving that money after what happened between them and decided the best way to make the most of her parents' selfish wealth was to donate it to good causes. Dumont School Superintendent said excitedly, "I wasn't surprised that she was going to donate something. The surprise was the amount of money she sent us. I never thought she had so much money in her possession. She never told me anything about her background, and I thought her parents were a humble working family. It was a pleasant surprise to discover the truth, even if it had to be through her will." Kevin Carlotto, business administrator for the school district, said the money would be put into a fund that would accrue interest, allowing the scholarships to continue for years and their generous gesture to prevail over time. Viakova's last will managed to honor a whole life dedicated to helping others. Her mission was to try and make the world a fairer place, in which the most vulnerable people had the rights they deserved. She never cared if in doing so her past and that of her family came to light. She just wanted to take care of others. And she did it, even if she was no longer there to be able to take the credit. There's no greater act of altruism than that. Did you like this touching and surprising story? If so, we invite you to leave us a comment expressing your opinion. If you want to continue enjoying inspiring stories like this one, subscribe to our channel or check out the other videos shown at the bottom of the screen.